For this week's book babble, I really decided to focus on like some different things. And so towards like the end of the 9 weeks, we have most of the time spent a lot of the time doing much more in the beginning. And so for this week, I really only had three things to focus on. But with those three things, I really decided to focus on going in depth with all of them. And so the first one I read was an essay called An Essay on the Understanding of Evil, and it was really interesting. It was like, also it had something to do, since I needed to film my things, it had a little bit to do with culture, and although that's alright, it had a lot to do with like the whole culture, and it also brought in a lot of the, not really the Bible, but things that do deal with religion. And so like that was not really strong, which I thought was good. It wasn't like overpowering the essay, but it really talked about how evil and how it's like we portray it and differently. It's up to interpretation. It really cannot be summed up in a word. And so like throughout this whole project, I've never read an essay that really talked about like how we can't define it. So I thought that that was interesting. It made a lot of sense to me, at least. And then I read this speech called Declaration of Conscience, and so like it talked about, it was a letter written by a state senator, and I believe the 1950s, to the president of the United States at that point. And so she was urging that we really look at the president. She wrote the speech to the president, and so she wrote it for him because she wanted him to really look at what we were doing as a country, because she was definitely Republican and talked about the different issues, and although they're different from now, it really made some sense to me, because it was like the president sometimes seems as though like the main character of like the United States sometimes, because he controls and like stuff happens to him, but it also his decisions affect everyone else, and so that's the same as in a novel. And so I really thought about that a lot, and how it really does, like the main character's actions affect everyone else. And then I picked this movie called Chicago. And I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. But I chose it because all three of the main characters are bad or have bad qualities in some way. Roxy Hart, who is the main character, killed the man that she was cheating on her husband with because he lied to her. And then like the other woman, who's played by Renee Zellweger, kills her husband because he was cheating on her with her sister. And then the lawyer is just bad in general because he really wants to give the ladies a chance to have another chance, and so he lies to the court and like all this kind of stuff. So I just thought it was interesting because all the characters are bad, and so we rarely see that, but somehow we like associate with them. We want to like reach out to them, and we almost feel their pain in the story as the movie moves along. So I think it's interesting how the author can make that happen, even though they are such like bad people, or they play bad people in their roles. So that was really interesting, and I feel as though I can use all three of these in my research paper. It was really good, and I'm glad with how this week went.